Ting, the new way everyone is getting their cell service. No overage penalties, great rates, keep what you do not use, no contracts, and someone will actually pick up the phone when you need support. Use our link and get $25 off your first month's service or your new phone. Just go to tech-zen.tv/ting to save $25. Hello, welcome to Let's Make It, episode number 27. And I'm here again tonight with Bob from...
Good evening.
How's it going, Bob?
It's going good.
So, anything exciting happening down your way?
Yeah, there's a few exciting things, but trying to stay out of trouble and keep busy and doing all right.
Staying out of trouble, it's hard sometimes, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right.
It's just the degree of trouble that I stay in.
Right. So we have a little bit of a weird show tonight. Actually, it's not weird, it's just different. We're going to do something with the Raspberry Pi, and we're doing this because we have a couple things on the way we want to wait till we get before we go talking about them. So we've always said we want to do some Raspberry Pi stuff, so tonight we're going to do some Raspberry Pi things. But before we get there, I do want to remind you that if you're watching us on our old YouTube channel, which you'll know if you haven't moved, then you need to go to our new YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/techzentv. Now it's new because all of our shows are going to this new channel. The old channel is not going to go away. It's just going to not get any more videos. I think we have 2 more weeks left until we move over. So if you look at the lower third, you see the address down there for youtube.com/techzentv. So just a reminder. I'll remind you again before we get done with the show. I also want to remind everybody that we do record the show live at 9 p.m. Eastern Time every Monday night. You can come watch us live. You can get in the chat room, ask us questions, talk with us. We'd love to have some feedback live if possible. We've been getting some great feedback this week, especially from people. Let's see, Bob, you saw that feedback, right?
Yeah, I did.
That was very good feedback.
It's a good comment, yeah.
Yeah, so we love the feedback, and as far as where you'd like us to go, more in depth, less in depth, etc. I had a comment. It wasn't necessarily about this show, or it could have been. I don't remember. That we had some low-level audio, so I tried fixing that this week as well. So those kind of comments, we definitely appreciate those kind of comments. Most definitely appreciate them. But if you can watch us live, we'd love to have you come in and watch us live and chat with us in the chat room. Be interactive in that way as well. But if you can't, you're busy or whatever, emails are great too. All right, so this week we're going to install XBMC, and let's give a little bit of a history on XBMC. XBMC is it was Xbox Media Center. Now I can't say I've ever seen it on an Xbox. Have you ever seen it on an Xbox, Bob?
No, I have not. I've seen it on the Linux distributions, but I've never actually seen it on an Xbox.
Yeah, and I can't say I've ever. I mean, I know that's where it was originally, and somebody told me that Boxy came from that as well. I haven't been able to confirm that, but somebody said Boxy came from XBMC or something, or was a. I don't know if the original designer, or what it was necessarily, but so anyways, XBMC is a media player. So if you've heard of the Roku or an Apple TV, it's very similar to those. It's open source and it's free. So all you need is something to install it on. And tonight I'm going to install it on a Raspberry Pi. So the Raspberry Pi, if you have one, is very flexible. It basically takes an SD card as a hard drive, and you can pretty much put anything you want. There's tons of different distros on it. And somebody took the time and took a distro and installed XBMC. So your only cost involved to do this is the Raspberry Pi and an SD card. Now the SD card has to be an 8 gigabyte, and I would recommend a faster one. I actually went out to Radio Shack, and they had on sale for like $9 an 8 gigabyte Ultra HD from SanDisk, which works perfectly. So I actually picked up 2 of them for $9 a piece. So that actually was a great deal. But what I've done is, because the installation takes a while, I have pre-recorded a video, and I'm going to walk through it because there's no audio on it, and I sped it up. So basically it took like 25 minutes, and you'll see when I'm playing the video that I actually have time code at the bottom to show you how long it's taking, and that I'm running it like 500% the normal speed just to get it through it, and it's still 8 minutes long as we walk through it. And I'll talk over a little bit as well, kind of explaining, because I noticed some things during installation that concerned me, but it didn't seem to matter because when I got it installed, it worked perfectly fine. And then in our second half of the show, I'm going to actually walk through some of the interface and show you, what all it can do. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and hit play on the video. So this is, we're starting out here, and I'm just showing you the page where you download it from. And you can just search on Google for XBMC Raspberry Pi, and you take into this wiki. I think it's the first thing that comes up in Google. And it's raspbmc.com, I believe. And you basically go to download, and there's instructions. There's instructions for Windows and instructions for Mac. I'm doing it on a Mac, but the Windows instructions are just as easy to follow as they are on a Mac. So I show you here going into download for the Windows. Basically downloads a real small exe, and all the exe does is it downloads a very small image and puts it on your SD card, but it walks you through step by step. And then now I'm going back, and I'm going to show you how to do it on a Mac. And this instructions are basically the same for Mac or Linux, with the exception of the first command. So I'm going to basically just highlight the command they give you for Mac, and I'm going to open a command box. And all I'm going to do is paste that command into the command box and run it. And that quickly, it downloaded what it needed. And now all I'm going to do is run the second command, which copies everything over to the SD drive. And you got to run this as root, so you need to do sudo. If you're root on the Linux box, you don't have to, but on a Mac, you typically need to use sudo. But you run the command, and the reason you need sudo is because you're actually going to format the drive, the flash drive. So that's why you need to put in root access. But basically, after you put in the root password, it's going to confirm that you definitely want to destroy the drive. And also wants to confirm that you agree to licensing terms. Then it asks you for what disk it is. So you type in the disk name that shows you right there on the screen. You see the 7 gigabyte disk drive, 7.95. And when I type in the disk, again, it's going to confirm. And I'm going to confirm, yes, I definitely want to do this. And then it's going to ask if I want to do the advanced tools. And I'm going to tell it no. I'm not sure what the advanced tools are, but I didn't seem to need them. But you can see how fast it's basically copying that over. And yeah, here it is, advanced tools, no. And okay, we're done. So at this point, I'm actually going to take the flash drive out of the Mac, and if you're on Unix or Mac, make sure you dismount it first. And if you're on a PC, you just do the safe eject. That way the file system doesn't get corrupted that you just created. And at this point, we just take this drive out, and we're going to go over and put it into a Raspberry Pi. In a second here, I'm going to move over to the Raspberry Pi, and you're going to see what it does on the Raspberry Pi. So the Raspberry Pi needs to be connected to the internet before you get started. So here you see the Raspberry Pi is booting, and you can see the clock at the bottom. We're already counting up. We're already past 5 minutes. So we're cranking along. It's still booting. But after it gets connected to the internet, it's going to download all the pieces, and it's going to jump into a graphical interface. And I don't know if the blue looks funny to you, but that's just part of the speed up process, the interlacing of the speed up process. But you see on the screen, it's downloading the files. It's giving you some instructions, and it's bouncing through different things really quickly. And like I said, this process takes about 25 minutes. I did it twice. I did it once before I recorded, so I knew what was going to happen, and I kind of knew what to prepare for. And it seemed like it went a little bit faster the second time. It was still on one of the new drives. I pulled another. I got 2 drives or 2 cards from Radio Shack, and I got the second one out and did it. So it wasn't brand new. So I got the exact experience you're going to get. But you see, it's downloading basically the root file system, and then it's going to uncompress it, and then it's going to reboot, and then it's going to go through and it's going to download a little bit more and reboot. It's going to do this a couple times, and it's all automated at this point. At this point, I basically set the recorder and just to record, and at the end of it, I just went in and edited it and ran it 500%, the video 500%, just to make it so it was shorter, because otherwise I'd be sitting here for 25 minutes talking about watching the screen. So you can see we're already over past the 12-minute mark, and now it's it's downloading. Can't read that, but it looks like it's still part of the root file system is downloading. And it really, truly is a pretty much a hands-off. As long as it has internet access and can get an IP address automatically from DHCP, it's pretty much a plug in and go. Now, at some point here, I can't remember if it's this step or the next step, I think I get some errors. And they go by really fast, and they concerned me when I first got it the first time I did this, but in the end, it was fine. So I got them again on the second load, and everything was fine. And after I get this loaded, we'll go through some things in the second segment where I've downloaded a lot of things to it, right, just to play with it. I'll play with it for a good hour and a half after I got it loaded just to see what all it could do. There it goes. All right, now it's installing. I couldn't read it, went by too fast. So you see, it's going to keep doing this. It's kind of like watching a Linux or regular Linux download. It's definitely a lot faster because it's a lot smaller operating system. The one thing to note is it's doing this all over the internet. Unlike Raspbian when you download it. Okay, there's the errors. See how fast they went by. All right, so here you see it's starting to boot into the Raspberry Pi. And it kind of reminds you of Raspbian with the big R that comes up. Anyways, you download Raspbian, you typically download the whole image, and you put it on the SD card, and then you expand it after you get on the SD card. And I'm not sure why they do it this way. They basically are downloading everything over the internet, and which is fine as long as you have an internet connection. This media center wouldn't have to be on the internet to work. You can do other things locally on your network that are not necessarily over the internet. It can do AirPlay. It can do all kinds of neat things, that like the Apple TV can do and your Roku can do. Now, there's definitely not as many apps for this as there is the Roku. If you go down through some of the things you can install, it looks like it's installing it on like a Unix operating system, like an Android operating system, very similar. If you watch it install down at the bottom, it looks like almost like you think you're in Android at some point. And here we go again. We boot it again. And this might be our final boot, because we're already at 26 minutes and counting.
Sure is nice when you're watching it fast, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Well, it wasn't our final boot. Back on the blue funky screen. When I sped this up, the interlacing looks really weird.
Well, this is one of those installs. You get it started and then you go get yourself a snack.
I went and got a drink and came back down and started answering emails. I'm like, hey, it's done already.
There you go.
I didn't realize it was 30 minutes that fast. So here we are at 29, almost 30 minutes. It was very much a painless install. I was a little concerned, and I started reading instructions like it can't be that easy. And it actually was. It was that easy.
Well, I've put on a couple different distributions of, I've got a couple different SD cards for my Pi, and they've all been fairly easy to install. I've been real impressed. Yeah,
they do a good job in installing. Sometimes you install Unix stuff and it's difficult, but it's getting less and less like that. Okay, here we go. We're booting up. All right, there we booted up. So let's see. My video's probably going to end here in a second, I would think. Okay, well, when it comes up, it's going to ask you what language you want it in. I didn't go through that process to show all that stuff. So, okay, so that was the very fast 32-minute install of XBMC. So we're kind of in the middle here. I'm going to, before we go to the next segment, I'm going to kind of take a little break in the middle, and I want to talk about a few other things. Again, just a reminder about the YouTube. We've been asking for feedback, and we've been getting some good feedback. So we want to definitely keep that up. This week we got a really nice email, and I can't remember. Do you remember who his name was?
Not offhand, but I have my email up, and I can find it real quick. It was from Eric.
That's right, Eric.
And he had a very nice email, long too, which was
very good.
Which was really good.
Very descriptive.
It's nice to see all the detail and ideas, and so yeah, Eric sent us a really good email. So thank you, Eric.
Yeah, and definitely keep those up. We love getting the feedback. It's very, very helpful to us. So as I mentioned, we're kind of in this weird state where we're trying to think of something to do even for next week. We have some things that are coming that probably won't be here for 2 weeks, I would guess, about.
Yeah, that's what I'm expecting. The first bit of hardware that I'm waiting on is probably 2 weeks away.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. So I'm thinking maybe next week we do how to design PC. Maybe see if we can talk about fritzing, see if they care if we do or not. I'm sure they probably won't.
That'd be good.
That's a good prototyping tool to get people started on. Has some little quirks in it, but I mean it's a free tool and kind of inexpensive.
It's inexpensive and it's not going to do a complex project, but for a small, simple project, it works very well.
Right. So maybe next week we can plan on doing fritzing. Talk about that. Give us another week to get our hardware in.
That'd be good.
All right. So this again is we're talking about episode 27. We're recording this on the 8th of July in 2013. Put on XBMC on a Raspberry Pi. As we mentioned before, we're going to the one YouTube, but we're also going to one Twitter. So if you've been following us on the Twitter for Let's Make It, we're going to start using just the TechZen Twitter. It seems like it's easier to get people to follow one than it is to follow multiple. That's been going out on Twitter if you've been watching the Twitter, just a kind of a reminder about that as well. I don't really have anything in the middle of the program here to break it up without going into the next section. In the next section, I pretty much want to go ahead and show you the interface. Now, before I do that, let me show you this. This is the remote. This is not really remote. Nothing came with it, obviously, but I use this on a computer it's a touchscreen. I hardly ever have to use the keyboard. So I unplugged the USB controller, and this basically has a mouse and a keyboard, and I plugged the USB into the Raspberry Pi. So this is how I'm going to control the Media Center. This would be a great keyboard for Media Center. It's only like $30 or something like that. I can't remember who makes it. It doesn't even say who makes it. it's that generic. So, but you'll see me controlling it with this. So that's what I'm going to be controlling it with. But let's hop over to that. So right now you see it's in screensaver mode, and I'm going to basically press enter to get it out. So you'll see I have a mouse, which you don't have to use a mouse if you don't want to. You can just use the arrow keys. Like right now I'm using the arrow keys. And you see the main menu right here. And I've gone through and set up, like if I want to see what the weather is here, see the clock at the top. It's going to come up and it's going to give me the weather. Now it does some weird things. Like it says that 2 there, and then I'll go away in a second. That's like the default or something, because it's not 25 degrees Celsius here. So there it is, 77 degrees here in clear skies.
That's nice there.
Yeah, it's a little humid. I don't know what to say what the humidity is on that. Yeah, it does. 69%. It's a little sticky outside. So weather set up. Let's see. We go in. If you have pictures, you can do a couple different things with pictures. I'm going to show you some of the other apps. Let me go in and look at them here. No, it didn't. So right here, you can go in and you can add. Basically, you can add in most of the photo services you can add into here as a source. Let me go in here and can. Actually, it's a little hard to read for me here. I guess I have to do a plugin. So I'm going to go through plugins here in a little bit, and you'll see how to add the plugins. You can do, directories and stuff as well. You can put it on a thumb drive. With videos, I have in here, well, maybe it doesn't remember all my stuff from last night. I had all my videos from my Mac via iTunes. It was in here. And maybe when we get to the settings over here, we'll see what it has. Oh, wait, what was that? Oh, it's add. Okay. And music's the same way. It probably doesn't have that if it lost my iTunes. But it has other ones in here. So there is podcasts from iTunes. There you have books should be free, and these are all things you can install. You have Last FM. This is RDO, the Twit network, and I can come down here and I can pick out other ones as well to include. And you can come down here and you can see all these different things you can add. You see some of them in here that I already had, but there's a bunch of them you can pick from. Quite a list of things you can pick from, actually, to get audio, live radio, things like that. It's in here as well. So you can add all these things in here and, you know, get audio from any of the streaming services. And we go back. So it allows you to install some programs, and there's games for this as well. You can play games on it. I haven't tried that yet, but I saw the games that were out here. So I've installed Facebook, which I haven't set it up. IRC Chat, which was automatically installed by Twit when I installed their Twit client, because you can chat inside their client. This is a game called NetWalk. This is settings. It's like an extra app for the RBMC. There's a ROM, so if you want to play games like the old Atari games, you can play the ROMs in here.
Now we're talking my time.
Yeah, and that's me too. Actually, I like the ROMs from the video games. Galaga was like my favorite game growing up was Galaga, or Galaxia, or Galaga, I think.
Yep.
And I have that ROM somewhere. I haven't played it for a while now. There is a web viewer. This is something that I'm going to play with because this is an voice over IP that works with asterisks, and I use asterisks here, so I'm going to play with it and see what all it does. I don't know how it all works, but again, you can come down here and you can do more, and if you press enter, it'll come back with a list of all the different programs that you can install, and you see there's tons of them in here, so I'm not going to go through them all, but you can write your own, or you can just download somebody else's. There is a developer's kit you can get for it. See, audio mixer, there's backups, there's all kinds of things you can get. There's the one I just installed. There's a game, there's another game. I think that's something with album art, maybe, I think. Anyway, you can see there's a ton of stuff you can put on here. It's not, like I said, it's not as much stuff as you'd find on a Roku, but this is free. So Roku's not free, although Roku's not that expensive, but it's not free either. And then in system settings, there's a bunch of options in system settings. You can change the appearance. I have not changed the appearance. I just looked at what was in here, but you can change the skin. And there wasn't a ton of choices for skins. But you can also see, you can change, here's the theme. So you can change your theme around from different skins. So it is flexible, and you can create your own skins. I saw online how to create your own skins, and it doesn't look like it's that difficult to be able to create your own skins as well. Then you can do all your video settings. If you have an IR device, now I haven't tried this, I don't know how it works with the Raspberry Pi, but it can control like your cable TV box. So that's what this, usually that's to set up for cable TV or DirecTV, whatever. You can control through this device your TV. There's your different music settings, your picture settings, the weather settings. This is the add-ons. Like we've gone through just showing you different add-ons. This is like a master add-ons list right here. And then the different services. And this is like it's a web interface to it as well. And it's owned by default. So I haven't looked at the web interface to know if it's safe or not, but it does support UPnP. The web server, again, is on by default. And then there's some remote control settings here as well. It does support some different remote controls, which none of them I have, so I couldn't really check them out to see what they were like. And then there's ZeroConf, which allows you, this is how you can go in and add your iTunes. Let me see if it finds it for me here. Well, it doesn't seem like it wants to do it, which could be my iTunes isn't working either. It also supports AirPlay. And again, this didn't store because I had this turned on. So now I should be able to see this on my AirPlay devices. Let me see if it actually does show up. Well, it hasn't yet. And then there is also soundbar. I guess you can go directly into a PC. So if you have a PC that has all your music on it or your pictures on it, you can configure it there as well. So it's a pretty full-featured free system. If you do a lot with internet radio or podcasting, this you can definitely use something like this. Like I use a Roku, it's right next to my desk all the time. That and a Google TV. All right, hang on a second. Where did all my stuff go? Let's go into one of these apps here real quick. You won't be able to hear it, but you'll be able to see the interface that it has. Well, maybe we won't. I could be having internet problems.
This is the disadvantage of doing a live show. Sometimes
it is, but it's part of the fun of it as well.
But it's part of the fun. That's right.
Yep.
Makes things interesting.
So it finally came up, different shows. Let's see. Oh, this is a short show. Let's go look at some of these. And I'm wondering sometimes if it's the Pi that's slow. It was slow for a little bit last night when it first came up, but then it was fine. So I didn't know if it was the Pi or the internet, but maybe it's the Pi itself.
Well, compared to a modern computer, it is slow, but for what you're getting for $35, it's very powerful.
Right. If you're not trying to do graphics work, it's not too bad, probably. I don't know what that is. I might have crashed it.
Oops.
Yep. That's great for a live show.
That is great.
That's fun. No, I don't think maybe I did crash it. I can't read what the words say on it. Well, let's see here. I just told it to reboot. Let's see what it does. Huh? Not even doing that. Well, that could be the end of the show. I guess I can.
This is where you edit out the end of the show.
Oh, I won't edit it out. This is the fun part of the show.
Yeah.
Actually leaving this stuff in. This is what happens when you play with electronics. Let me real quickly here see if I can power cycle it. I didn't have to power cycle. It came back up. All right. Well, so much for stability. So I guess what we should say is it's an interesting thing to run on a Raspberry Pi. It's an easy install. If you want an inexpensive media player, you have to play with it to figure out. I did listen to radio on it for a while yesterday, and it worked fine. But I didn't really go in and play any of the videos like I was trying to do. So maybe that's where the problem comes in. Well, yeah, see, it lost all my stuff. So it's obviously some quirks with it yet. I wonder if it has a problem with a program, it removes it. Yeah, because it removed the whole twit thing altogether. And even the audio. Let's see what if I run one of these, what happens. Oh. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Well, all I can say is try it. It's free. That's probably the best thing I can say. I was listening to audio on it for at least an hour yesterday without any problem. But it's kind of funny because it just crashed, and when it crashed, it took out audio and a bunch of other media stuff too. So
That's surprising.
Yeah.
Some of the other distros for the Pi I've been able to watch videos, not with this one, but some of the other ones have played videos without any trouble.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the video was the problem as much as maybe the app that I was running was the problem. I don't know. Could be. It's hard to say. Because I hadn't tried the Twit app before, but I was I did play the audio app, and I had pictures and music from my iTunes, and I even played a video from my iTunes, and I did an AirPlay. Oh, I got AirPlay to show up. I never tried it, to actually go to it. So I wonder if actually that's up now too. No, I still don't see it in AirPlay. So maybe that doesn't work yet either. Anyways, still an interesting show. Failure is always interesting to me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, sometimes overcoming failure is the whole path to success. So
Right, and actually, if somebody has done this and gotten it to work, and gotten past these issues, or have found the issues and found workarounds for it, let us know. We can stick that in the show notes. That's always helpful for other people as well. That's the whole idea of the show, is help all people out. So, all right. So let's see. Is there anything else for this week?
I think that's it for this week.
Yep. And next week, let's plan on doing. Well, let me contact Raspbian, or not Raspbian, but Fritzing, and see if they're okay with us talking about it. But I think they probably would be.
I would think so.
Yeah, I don't think they have an issue, but I don't want to do it without their permission. So
I agree.
We'll be showing it live on the air. I want to make sure they're cool with that. That's all.
Yeah.
All right. So again, just a reminder: we record this every Monday night at 9 p.m. Live. Even with failures, we record it live. Actually, the failures are some of the fun.
That's right. It is.
This isn't the first failure we've had by any means. We've had quite a few actually.
And probably won't be the last one.
It definitely won't be the last one. Yeah, definitely not. So, but we'd love to have you come and chat with us live. That'd be great. And the feedback we've been getting, we're loving the feedback. So just keep it up. Feedback at any time. And we've asked before about the depth you want us to go into and with stuff. Again, just keep letting us know. We're getting different feedback on that as well. So that's always great to get that feedback.
And I think we will do little tidbits here and there more in depth.
Right, yeah. That was one of the things in the feedback this week was to do something more in depth, like maybe a complete project from beginning to end. And there's some of that coming up, I think, with some of the things that I'm making on for other things. We can probably do that.
Right.
Maybe I'll record videos in the process of doing it, the whole thing. So that'd be a good fill in for that.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks, Bob. Thanks, everybody. We'll see y'all.
Thank you.
Next week.
Good night.
Night. For show notes for this show, contacts, and more, go to the TexN.TV website where you can get show notes for all of our shows. We love to hear from our viewers and listeners. We have an email, a Twitter, and a phone number where you can contact us for each show. For details, visit the TechZen.tv website and get the show details. You can also make a video and upload it somewhere like YouTube or Vimeo, and then just send us a link. You never know, you may see your video in a future show. You can get all of our shows delivered automatically to your favorite device by going to your favorite podcast website like iTunes and subscribing. Each of our shows also has a YouTube channel you can subscribe to get regular updates. Our shows are also available on most internet radio networks like Stitcher and TuneIn Radio. You can also watch and listen to our shows on Xbox, TiVo, and Roku. You can even find us on your Zune.